As long as somebody's called you nigger and you get that kind of response I see in you right now where you're ready to explode, then what you've done is given that person absolute control of you. You have no control in your life. You are still a slave. I said, you are. Well, you're being enslaved by you and nothing else. And I said, I'd like to have you be free because I'm free and I'm white. So why don't you pretend that we're going to get you free right now? And I suggest here's the way to do it. Everyone stand up. And only two people. I said, stand up. Come on, try something with me. Trust me just for a moment. Pretend I'm black. I get them to stand up, right? Now I'll stand up. I said, now you guys just do what I do just for a minute if you really want to be free and if you want to have some fun. So let's try this. I stood up and I said, okay, follow me. Do what I say what I say, move the way I move. I'm a nigger, you're a nigger. Be a nigger too, be a nigger. Ooh, be a nigger.
Nigga this, nigga that, cracker this, cracker that. Stop being so prejudiced, man. That shit is whack. I might be white, he might be black, but we bleed the same color, so stop with all of that. Yeah, slavery happened, that might be a fact, but it's 2019 and now look at where we at. Why you asking for my race on job applications? Does it really matter if I'm Chinese, black, or Caucasian? Cops have guns, but don't they all have tasers? Instead of being human, pigs gon' pull up out their lasers. All lives matter here, we fighting with each other. It don't matter the color, that could have been somebody's brother. Open up your eyes, the government is winning. Maybe this is why people think the world is ending. A nation that should equal one, the generation that will come. Will you stay to fight or will you just go up and run? All lives matter, and if you feeling what I'm saying, then come hop up on this ladder. We could build this world together. Stop dogging different colors and start making them feel proud. Stop all the hate because it's time to end it now. We are all human beings now. Say that shit out loud.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, we understand that we have been in war for hundreds of years. And we have to understand why they use the kind of violence they use against us to keep us in our place. They have done so many things to us and then try to cover it up. They feel like they have no other choice but to be violent with us. Because if somehow they ever lose power and lose the position they're in, then we just might do to them what they did to us. And really, that just shows you how they think. It's classic projection. But not everybody has the same sick mentality as they have. And the problem is, they've never been able to do anything without us. The one thing they can do on their own is be violent. And the fact that they need to keep us in our place so that we do their work for them led to repeated massacres of our people, like the Thibodaux massacre of 1887. Now, this massacre started because black workers on sugarcane plantations decided to go on strike because they didn't want to be slaves. The plantation owners were only paying them in what they call scrips, which were only store credits that were good at their particular store. Not only that, since the plantation owner kept the books, they were still cheating them out of what they owed them. And conditions were so bad on the plantations that people were getting killed often or getting injured. And if the people refused to work, they would tie their hands between their legs, using something like a 2x4 so they couldn't get up. Now keep in mind, this was in 1887, 20 years after the 13th Amendment. But the states would also send in militia if they refused to work, or if the plantation owner was using a convict leasing system. So then an organization called the Knights of Labor organized a strike so that workers would be paid at least $1.25 a day in cash and to improve working conditions. The plan was to wait until it was time to harvest all the sugar. Then an estimated 10,000 black workers all went on strike at the same time, threatening to mess up the entire crop for the year. And how do you think the dominant society responded? The very first thing they turned to is violence. The governor, Samuel McHenry, ended up sending the militia to force the strikers back to work. And as they forced these free black people back onto plantations, an estimated 20 black people were killed. Then a judge, Taylor Batiste, who was a plantation owner himself and a KKK member, declared martial law and then deputized about 300 average white citizens just to go patrol and keep black people in the house. Every black person had to have a pass to come in or out of town. And most time the militia didn't let them pass. So then the white mob started to hunt down every single black person they thought was involved in the strike and their families. They killed women, they killed the elderly, they killed children, babies, who didn't have anything to do with the strike in the first place. Disabled men, blind women, Helpless children were all murdered brutally. The mob went from door to door, pulling people out of their homes to kill them. And it lasted over 3 days. People had to go run and hide in the woods and in the swamp. Reports said about 35 to 50 black people were killed. But survivors and witnesses say the real number could be close to 300 black people that were killed, wounded, or just missing. And at the end of the day, not one white person was killed. The black newspaper said they were ruthlessly murdered, and the Negroes offered no resistance, and they couldn't because the killing was unexpected. Then they built a mass grave and just dumped countless bodies in it. And then they built a landfill over top of it to hide what they did. Bodies were popping up for weeks after the massacre in the swamps and the woods and shallow graves. But today, we still act surprised, like we're unexpected of their violence. In Texas, an 18-year-old young brother, Charles Roundtree, ended up getting shot to death by San Antonio police while he was sitting in the house on the couch minding his own business. So let's see how this young brother just sitting in the house could end up getting shot and killed by the police.
We begin with a KENS 5 exclusive body camera video of a San Antonio police officer shooting and killing an unarmed teenager.
Hey, give me your hands! Shots fired!
Eyewitness News reporter Marvin Hurst has been working for months to get this video. You are seeing it for the first time only on KENS 5.
So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna wait for my other partner to get here.
He had probable cause.
And we're gonna go try to make contact at that house, okay?
I mean, it is a documented house that has had some narcotic problems.
Remove your head from me.
I mean, we don't want to skip over that.
I recognize you.
It was confusing to me, that's why I had to go back over it a couple of times. The door was obviously open.
I don't even see anybody who was standing up who could have opened the door.
What's up, man?
Did he have time really to identify himself?
Hey,
He didn't say he was SAPD, he didn't say nothing.
what's up, man?
At 1 a.m., he began firing shots.
Give me your hands!
Multiple shots, not one shot.
I can't tell. He's doing something around his waist.
You won't see any shred of evidence to indicate that he had a weapon.
Shots fired!
Your brain reacts totally and adrenaline takes over.
You're going to have a little adrenaline.
Hey, he had a gun, he pulled it out!
Things are going to be at a little higher level.
Gunshot wound in the chest.
I want his uniform taken away. I want him to pay the same price that we do.
It's messed up. Because nobody was doing anything.
That was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my whole life. Was to bury my boy.
This all started because a lady flagged me down saying that someone in that house punched her.
9 seconds in the darkness of an October morning changed everything for an 18-year-old who had just become a father. Charles Roundtree walked into this San Antonio home alive. He left 217 Robert Street in a body bag.
I want justice for my son. He didn't deserve what happened to him.
Chop Roundtree was killed from a bullet fired by a San Antonio police officer. A bullet meant to take down his friend Devontae Snowden. All of this started, police say, after a couple selling soup in this neighborhood was attacked.
Do you have an ID?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
October 17, 2018, a couple with an infant in the back of the car is delivering Mexican chicken soup to a Facebook customer at 1 in the morning. They flagged down San Antonio police officer Steve Casanova.
He just popped him in the face 3 times.
And that's all he said?
Look, I want to press charges.
Hold on, give me a sec. What was he wearing?
He was wearing a gray sweater, blue jeans, he's black.
Officers were watching the home Maria Herrera and Esteban Preciado parked across the street from. 217 Robert Street is a documented drug house. Casanova brings another officer up to speed.
They were there. I saw her. She had got down across the street. She was dropping off to sell menudo.
I'm selling caldos de pollo.
And this is
to
the girl
get
I
my
saw.
water.
But hold on, hang on. This is the girl that I saw that was across the street. The girl in pink was at the dope house. Dude from there came out and went up to him, was talking shit, saying, "Don't be parking my block," and punched him in the face. Why? Because they were parked there. So looks like we need to go and check the house.
Steve Casanova, the officer taking the criminal complaint and wearing a body camera, is a 5-year veteran of the force who's familiar with 217 Robert Street.
Give me the whole rundown, okay?
Eyewitness News has been working to get this body cam video for months. It arrived in an email sent by someone wishing to remain anonymous. In a statement, SAPD said they could not comment on the case or authenticate the video because Roundtree's family is suing them. We were able to verify the video's authenticity with Snowden's criminal attorney.
Was he a young guy?
Yeah, like in his 20s.
Was he skinny, fat?
Skinny, tall.
How was his hair?
¿Cómo era su pelo? No tenía, ¿verdad? He didn't have any.
No.
So with soup seller's complaint in hand, Casanova makes plans to go to the home.
Yes, ma'am. Myself, 60 and 40 are going to go to the 200 block of Roberts.
Two officers make 217 Roberts with Casanova.
What's up, man?
Inside of the front room are Devontae Snowden, Charles Roundtree, and eyewitness Taylor Singleton. Police claim Snowden is armed.
You live here? You don't? Who's staying here right now? You don't know? Remove your hat for me. I recognize you.
Officer Casanova walks on the porch, pulls on a screen door, and knocks on the door in front of him.
What's up, man? Hey, let me see your hat! Shots fired! Watch out, move out of the way!
2330. Shots fired.
Get back! Get that f***ing dog out of here. Hey, he had a f***ing gun, he pulled it out.
Shots fired.
Officers scatter to positions of protection. They call for backup as barking dogs also take a protective stance. And remember the man who was on the porch eating? He wants out of the line of fire.
Motherfucker, dude. Hold up.
He crawls out under the beam of Casanova's flashlight, but a pit bull follows him. An officer-animal confrontation now begins. It quickly ends. The dog is killed.
Hey, stay in the f***ing house!
Stay inside! Get in your house or you're gonna get shot! 2330, anyone information?
Hey, I'm gonna run over.
Shots are being fired, over there. Stand by.
Dude. Hey, it's a young cat. He had a hat on, dude. He had a gun in his waist and was pulling it out.
Casanova casts a shadow on the street as he grabs the police radio.
I have a female inside the house, and I have two black males, ranges from like 20 to 30. Two guys with a hoodie on, one had a hat. The guy had a gun in his waist, looked like a 9.
Police fortify their perimeter.
Come to the house, guys! We're not leaving until you come out!
Then the first hint. There is an injury inside the house.
He's yelling something, dude. I don't know who's hit, but someone's hit in that house.
Police tighten their grip on the scene.
She yelled, "It's open, bro. Tell her to come out."
Come out one at a time. Put your hands up.
And out of the house comes Devontae Snowden with his hands in the air. One by one, everyone in the house comes out. Hands up and forced to walk backwards. Even an elderly man on a cane must comply.
She said it was a black male between 20 and 25. He had short hair and that he had like gray pants on with a hoodie.
Casanova recounts his version of what happened to an SAPD detective.
The front door was like slightly open, so I knocked and it swung open. The guy with the gun was sitting down directly in front of me. There was a female next to him and another young kid next to him that, like I said, they both kind of matched the description of that was given. And he said, "Who are you?" He looked at me, and then I guess it took him a while to realize that I was an officer. So when he did that, he goes, "Man, you can't." And then he kind of stopped what he was doing, and I couldn't see exactly what was in his waist because his hand was covering it. Then he kind of moved it slightly, and I saw gun. But he took like 2 steps towards me, and then he kind of went to the side, and he was like lifting his shirt up. So I fired, I believe, 2 rounds at him.
So the San Antonio police were called by this Mexican couple who claimed they were selling soup at 1 o'clock in the morning with their infant in the car. And they claim these black kids attacked them just because they were parked outside their house. So then the cop, Officer Steve Casanova, goes to their house, opens their front door, and then has his flashlight pointing in the house, talking about what's up. Not one time did he say police or identify himself. Just some stranger opens your front door, pointing the flashlight in your house. And when one of these young brothers got up and said, "Who is that?" this cop, Steve Casanova, immediately opens fire. He claimed the young brother had a gun on his waistband and he was reaching for what he thought was a 9. And he was in fear for his life, so he had no other choice but to open fire. But it turns out nobody in the house had a gun. The police said this 17-year-old brother, Charles Roundtree, who was just sitting on the couch, was an unintentional victim because they meant to shoot his friend. They claim the bullet went through his friend and then hit this brother, Charles Roundtree. They're trying to say the bullet went through his friend's ass and then hit him in the chest, which ended up killing his young brother, Charles Roundtree.
First at 10, a new twist in a KENS 5 exclusive. For the first time, court documents reveal there is a grand jury investigation into the shooting captured on this video. Tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Marvin Hurst is digging to find out who's at the center of the investigation.
Hey, give us your
The Bexar County District Attorney's Office is investigating if a San Antonio police officer is criminally responsible for the shooting death of Charles "Chop" Roundtree. Police say the 18-year-old was the unintentional victim of gunfire from Officer Steve Casanova. This is exclusive video of the shooting from Casanova's body camera last October. Police say the officer was investigating an assault report when the shooting happened at 217 Robert Street. The gunfire was meant for Devontae Snowden, who was shot in the backside and charged for being a felon with a gun. Investigators say a round went through his body and into Roundtree's chest. A joint motion filed by District Attorney Joe Gonzalez and Snowden's attorney says there is a grand jury investigation into the shooting death of Roundtree. The document goes on to say Snowden's attorney handed over relevant evidence to the grand jury on Tuesday, May 21st. Eyewitness News found out the new revelation is enhanced images of the shooting, which reveals Snowden was not armed at the time of the shooting.
It appears, I don't want to say this definitively, but it appears they're looking into the action, perhaps, of the officer, which arguably led to the death of the young man.
Former Bexar County DA Nico LaHood, who saw portions of the video before leaving office, says there are questions about the officer approaching the home's occupants unannounced. He also says the current DA will have to determine if the officer's claims of danger are justified.
The reasonable belief of apparent danger, and was it imminent?
LaHood says that means the DA will have to decide if Casanova acted intentionally, recklessly, or with criminal negligence.
This seems to be a tough one.
Now, they claim they're investigating this cop, Steve Casanova, but they ended up charging Charles Roundtree's friend was being a felon in possession of a gun, even though he didn't have a gun on him either. And as this young brother, Charles Roundtree, lay dying, they took their time helping him, forcing everybody out the house one by one, including the elderly person, while this young brother lay there bleeding to death. And now they got this cop on administrative duty, and he's still a cop. They just took away his gun, for now anyway. And even though they're supposed to be investigating, the police already have their cape on.
We invited legal experts Gary Ramey and George Sadler to watch this body cam footage. Ramey is a St. Mary's Law School professor who is an expert in search, seizure, and the use of police force.
I would like for both of these parties to have exercised a little bit more restraint, acted a little bit less quickly.
George Sadler worked in law enforcement for a total of 45 years at SAPD, the Bexar County DA's office, and the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. He is an expert in investigating officer-involved shootings, and he sees an officer firing in self-defense.
He didn't have much time to make that decision. He fires, and I think where you can come up with he's firing for his safety, he fires and backs away. He doesn't stay at the door. He doesn't continue to try and go in and take hold of the person. He's afraid, he backs up.
But there's a major question.
What's up, man?
About why Casanova never identified himself as an officer.
What's up, man?
If he's shining a light into the house, which he needs to do for his own safety, to make sure that he can see if it's dimly lit inside.
You live here?
He certainly needs to identify himself quickly because he's wearing a dark uniform.
Remove your hat from me.
This is in the middle of the night, so it's not going to be that clear to anybody who's on the porch.
It's justified if he's defending himself or a third party.
Hey, stay in the house!
In this case, it's pretty obvious he's defending himself. He puts himself in the line of fire. He's in fear of his life.
There is nothing at the point of the shooting that would justify a use of deadly force in order to make an arrest.
I'm not aware of anything right off the top of my head that I see that just stands out to me and go, yeah, that's not the way he should have handled that.
If I watched this video and someone asked, did he have a gun or not, I couldn't answer that question based on the video.
Police did find a gun, but it was not inside of the house. Investigators tested the weapon. According to Snowden's attorney, his client's DNA was not on the gun. The law professor says most grand juries are sympathetic to police and act on the recommendation from the DA's office, so these 9 seconds may never reach a court of law, which means no criminal charges for the killing of an unarmed teen at 217 Robert Street.
This all started because a lady flagged me down saying that someone in the house punched her.
Marvin joins us now. Now, Marvin, has this shooting reached a grand jury?
You know, I reached out to the DA's office just today to find out the status of this case. Deborah, they're telling me because it is still under review, they can't comment.
And how about Officer Casanova? Is he still on the street?
Oh, yeah. According to a court document that I was looking at just today as well, Officer Casanova is still at SAPD. He has not been suspended or anything like that. He's on administrative duty. He just can't have his gun.
Now, of course, they're going to blame the victim and talk about how this was a drug house and just ignore the fact that the cop just opened the door without permission and without even identifying himself, opening fire within a few seconds. But they claim he feared for his life and had no other choice, except for the choice to go in somebody's house without a warrant, without probable cause, and without identifying yourself. The police chief, William McManus, said the situation was unfortunate, but the officer's approach was very professional. And this young brother was killed by a bullet that was fired at somebody else trying to use deadly force against the cop, despite this other young brother and everybody else in the house being unarmed. Even the cop said himself he probably didn't recognize he was a cop. But the fact this young brother is dead is his friend's fault because the cop thought he had a gun. And when it comes to situations with us and our children, it's always unfortunate. But when it comes to them, they have to go home no matter what. They will do whatever they have to do at all costs to make it home. But until we respond with more urgency than they have to get out of this position, then they have to stay in their position, then the same thing will continue to happen over and over. We have to learn how to protect ourselves. We have to learn how to protect our women and our children and our elderly. At the end of the day, we are all we got, like it or not. And until we get on code and do what we have to do, we can expect to get the same results over and over and over again.
We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time. It's a shame, but we don't know how to rehabilitate. But there is a consensus, and I will cease. A, we must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malefactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society, try to help them, try to change their behavior. That's why we do in this bill. We have drug treatment and we have other treatments to try to deal with it. But they are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. But we would be absolutely stupid as a society if we didn't recognize the condition that nurtured those folks still exist. And we must deal with that. I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
34-year-old Hunter Biden, Vice President Joe Biden's youngest son, was discharged from the Navy Reserve after testing positive for cocaine. Hunter was commissioned in May 2013 and assigned a coveted position as a public affairs officer in Norfolk, Virginia. But U.S. officials confirm the very next month after reporting to his unit, Biden was given a routine drug test, which he failed. Biden's brief military career ended with this statement. "It was the honor of my life to serve in the U.S. Navy, and I deeply regret and am embarrassed that my actions led to my administrative discharge." Hunter Biden comes from a proud military family. His older brother, Beau, is a major in the Delaware Army National Guard and served a year in Iraq. Military service has been a big part of the Biden family's public platform.
I'm looking forward to standing with our son Hunter when he is commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy. He follows in the footsteps of two of his grandfathers who have also served in the Navy.
A source familiar with Biden's case confirms Biden received 2 waivers to join a special Navy Reserve program. Because of his age, the cutoff is 42, but Biden was 43 when he applied. The source says his strong academic record pushed him through. The vice president joked about his son's timing unknowingly just a month before Hunter was discharged.
We have a lot of bad judgment in my family. My son, who's over 40, just joined the United States Navy, is about to be sworn in as an officer. Hunter Biden.
The source says Hunter was granted a second waiver for a drug-related incident that took place in the late 80s when Hunter was a teen. The source saying it's not uncommon because the incident happened so long ago.
The reason we're up here, bud, is because of your behavioral issues, right?
But man, where you gonna take me?
Well, you're going to the juvenile home.
For what?
For domestic violence.
For what? I didn't even do anything.
For going after Grandma.
Can I get a bail?
No, you're over there till Monday.
No, not until Monday. I got school on Monday. I can't go nowhere. Please help me.
Listen to me. You made these decisions.
Can I go to my mama's?
Nope.
Please, there's anywhere he says to do in the home. I'll do anything.
Nope. Stop yelling and listen to me for a minute, okay?
Then will you listen to me? Because I'm telling you the truth. I didn't hit her.
I've got several other people telling me that you went after her.
But I did not.
Listen to me. I've been up here. This is 3 times for me in the past 2 days. And
Listen up.
Listen, okay?
Stop banging. All right? You're not getting out.
I have to. Please help.
Get in the car.
No.
Car.
Please.
Get your feet.
I need to eat dinner.
Get your feet in the car and stop kicking me.
No.
All right? Get your feet in the car right now.
No. What, Collins? Collins, wait, Collins.
I will stop when you get in. Stay there. Stay there. Stop. Do not spit on me.
I thought it was really terrible. They shouldn't have did that man like that. He was begging to please don't take me. And if I had known that they were gonna take it, I would have said something. I thought they were just talking, but they usually do.
Huh? Can you tell me what I did wrong?
Okay. Shut your car off.
What I do wrong?
Shut your car off.
Come on, shoot me.
Shut your car off.
You wanna shoot me?
Got a gun.
Where?
Gun.
Where?
Shut the car
Where?
off.
Where? My hands in the air.
Shut the car off. Shut
No, hey, come shut the car off. I ain't moving my hands. He trying to shoot me. He trying to shoot me.
Shut the car off.
Nah, I ain't moving. No, my hands in the air.
Shut the car off.
My hands in the air. My hands in the air. My hands in the air. My hands in the air.
Need units at Midland Heights.
My hands in the air. My hands in the air.
All you had to do is drive up.
What I was doing? What was I doing? What was I doing? My hands in the air. My hands in the air.
Failure to comply with the lawful order.
Shoot me. My hands in the air.
I'm not going to shoot you, but you're not going to move those hands.
My hands in the air. My hands in the air. You telling me to shut my car off so you can shoot me? Come on now. 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 Shoot me. Hey, get in your car.
I'm filming too.
Oh, it's in my name. It's registered. It's registered. Shoot me.
I'm filming too.
I'm filming. I ain't did nothing.
You failed to comply with a lawful order.
What
you
I
were
do?
told to
I
leave
was,
the parking
I
lot.
was pulling off. I couldn't hit his
come
car.
back.
I couldn't hit his car. How I come back? How did I come back?
You
Shoot.
never left the parking lot.
I just pulled up when they called me and told me, oh, we finna go to
Step
Jonesboro.
out.
We leaving from Jonesboro.
Step out the car.
Hey, I'm not putting I ain't touching that thing. He trying to shoot me. Hey, you come put it in the park. You put it in the park.
Step out the car.
What you pushing my hand for?
Step out the car.
What you pushing my hands for? Hey. What you pushing my hands for? What you pushing my hands
out the
for?
car.
How can I step out the car? What you pushing my hands for? Come on now.
We're going to get out
Come
the
on
car
now.
one way or the other.
Hey, you gonna put it in park? I'm not, cause you trying to shoot me,
Step
bro.
out the
Come
car.
on. Put it in park for me. Yes, sir. Come on.
Put
Come
it
on.
in park for you. How am I going to put it in park?
I'm telling him to put it in park. I'm not talking to you. You trying to shoot? What you pushing my arms back for? What you pushing my arms back for? Come on. Come on. Come on. Hey, put it in park for me.
Get out the car. Get out the car. Turn over.
You push. Alright, we get pulled by the police. Nothing just happened. Turn on the signal light. Pulling the pull it, yeah. Pull right there. Yeah. Pull right in the corner. Don't have no idea why we get pulled. Guess 2 niggas riding around in a Lexus. So we'll see what's going on with it. Should I turn this on the face part of it, or this part right here? Well, turn it around. Like this. Yeah. Ain't they record? I don't see them a zero. I don't see the 0. She recording?
What's going on, man? What the problem?
What the problem is? What's the problem?
Well, I was about to explain that to you.
Yeah. What's the problem?
Richmond Police Department.
Yeah.
The reason we stopped is when you pass this, the light's on, you got a headlight out.
In the daytime.
Huh?
In the daytime.
It's what?
In the daytime.
What do you?
That's the in the daytime.
Okay, so you got a light out.
Okay, and what, you gonna give him a ticket?
All right,
You gonna give a
first
ticket?
off, you guys got your IDs on you?
I ain't, no, I sure ain't.
No weapons, anything?
I sure ain't. No, nothing.
if you could communicate with the driver, that would be great.
It would be.
Thank you.
But you know that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
You know it's bullshit. You know he getting pulled for some bullshit.
ID, man?
If say what? No, I ain't gonna give you one, cause I ain't did nothing. I ain't driving. You ain't gonna get one. It don't matter. You ain't gonna get one. You wanna take me out, arrest me? Go ahead, arrest me.
Okay.
Go ahead, arrest me. Go ahead, arrest me.
Can I explain?
Yeah, you can explain. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, but I'm not gonna give you an ID. I don't have one, and I'm not gonna give you
All right,
one.
well, how about this? You're not wearing a seatbelt tonight.
Well, give me a ticket then. Write me a ticket.
Give you a ticket. You can't give
You
you a
get a
ticket.
ticket.
Know who you are.
Well, yes, you can write a ticket. You can write a ticket.
Yeah, I'll talk to him.
I just took my seatbelt off. I got it on this right here, so that's up to you. You want to write me a ticket? You want to write me a ticket?
Okay, but listen.
Go ahead.
How can I write you a ticket?
You can't write me a ticket because I ain't do nothing. He ain't pulled me for not wearing the seatbelt. You didn't pull me for not wearing the seatbelt. Yes, it does matter. Look, bro, look, I've been doing this for a minute. Listen, I've been doing this for a minute. No, I ain't done.
You don't want to go down the road that you're going.
What you mean I don't?
Because you will go to jail.
I've been in jail before.
Huh?
I've been in jail before.
Okay.
Oh, okay. But we ain't did nothing. We ain't did nothing.
That's crazy. You're making it way worse right now.
Well, how's it making it worse? We ain't did nothing. Why would you pull us?
Cooperation.
All right, go ahead. I'm all right. I'm gonna calm down. All right, go ahead. What you want then?
You can't. Let's say we do want to write you a ticket, which at this point is looking that way.
Okay, so are you gonna write the ticket?
Yes.
All right. So what's the question?
We need to identify you.
Why you need to identify me?
So that we can write you a ticket.
Man, lock me up, man. They can lock me up. They can lock me up. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I ain't. I'm going to jail for something I ain't do.
3 children were hurt in an officer-involved shooting in Oklahoma. Fox 24's Benjamin Diaz spoke with the children's mother, who says she is devastated. We do have to warn you, some of these images might be disturbing.
Right now, you just focus on your baby. Focus on your children.
That is the mother of the 3 kids who were injured after officers opened fire on a pickup truck with her children inside on Friday.
I mean, my children, for crying out loud. 4 innocent little children.
At around 2 p.m., Hugo police say that they were trying to stop 21-year-old William Devon Smith Jr. He was wanted for an armed robbery at a Pizza Hut in Hugo on April 11th.
As they tried to approach the suspect, there was an incident that happened. The officer-involved shooting took place.
Police say that Smith was inside of a pickup with 4 other kids. Officers say as he tried to get away, he put the truck in reverse and hit one officer. A second officer nearby says he was almost hit, and in fear for his safety, he fired shots. A spokeswoman for the OSBI was unable to say whether officers knew kids were inside the truck when he opened fire. 3 of the 4 kids in the pickup were injured. Hugo police say one child was shot in the head.
Of course, we're still talking to witnesses, doing interviews, and we're still trying to find out exactly what happened.
Olivia Hill, the mother of the kids, spoke to News 12 minutes before heading to Children's Hospital at St. Francis in Tulsa to see her injured children.
My 4-year-old daughter was shot in the head and she has a bullet in her brain. And my 5-year-old has a skull fracture. My 1-year-old baby has gunshot wounds on her face, and my 2-year-old wasn't touched with any bullets.
I don't know what those injuries are, and then one child, from what I understand, was not injured.
The current condition of the kids is unknown.
That was Benjamin Diaz reporting. Police say the suspect was shot. He was treated and released from the hospital. He is now in custody.
A school district in Utah now the subject of a lawsuit because of this. A former bus driver caught on camera dragging a student moments after he stepped off the bus. You see the students lining up and walking down the steps. They say the boy's backpack got caught in the door and the driver didn't stop for several seconds. The boy's mother believes he was targeted because of his race, but the driver denies that allegation.
Would you say that you're racist?
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
Oh boy. The lawsuit claims the driver has a history of misconduct against children who are minorities dating back several years. The driver says this specific incident was staged after he disciplined the boy's brother.
Researchers are digging up an area of southeast Louisiana in search of a possible mass grave. In 1887, up to 60 African-American workers were killed in what's called the Thibodaux massacre. But the bodies of those victims were never found. Now the search for their remains and the truth is underway. Jacqueline Quinn reports.
On this hot afternoon.
Yeah, I want to watch. I'm going to stay out here till they leave.
Sylvester Jackson has front seat to history. Anthropologists are trying to unearth secrets buried in the ground next to American Legion Post 513 in Thibodaux. Before the Legion Post, this land was used as a garbage dump.
It was a site where trash was put on top of the ground.
Davette Gaddison is leading the survey team, but it's not all junk that she's hoping to find. It goes much deeper than that. Back on his chair, Jackson's been around long enough to remember the rumors.
Well, they just would say they were buried here.
Jackson says when he was a kid, grown-ups talked about a massacre.
Mark?
And that's exactly why researchers are now here, to see if they can turn rumor into fact.
Well, this is a very important project to the city, to people, relatives, and they're very happy to have us here.
The first clue is right here on the American Legion Post's own website, saying this land is also believed to be the dumping ground for numerous blacks killed. And that is, so you know, during the sugarcane strike of 1887. Now Gaddison is investigating to see if under this soil there's evidence that may lead to a mass grave. John DeSantis has been researching this massacre for over a decade.
Some of the accounts we were able to uncover said, 50, 60 people in a group, armed, literally pulling people out of houses.
DeSantis wrote a book on the so-called Thibodaux massacre that says white vigilantes gunned down unarmed black workers during the strike.
Some communities fight over statues. In Thibodaux, people are coming together over what may be a mass grave site.
He even tracked down living relatives of those murdered, which brings us back to Sylvester Jackson.
It didn't dawn on me that I was part of the family.
With help from DeSantis, Jackson found health records that prove his grandfather had actually survived the attack, but it's possible his uncle was buried right here.
If they find something, I'm going to get the bones from my uncle and have them interned properly.